like it, hard work really at the end of the day is what gets you success. And it doesn't matter if you're an introvert and extrovert, because there's clients that are attracted to all different types of personalities, and they're going to choose who they feel most comfortable with at the end of the day. So
podcast. I'm Toni Singh.
Good morning. I'm Jenny Woon.
We have a special guest who's one of our friends and a top producer today, Ms. Carleigh HOFMAN. Carleigh, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself before we get into the nitty-gritty?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, guys. My name's Carleigh HOFMAN. I kind of started my career out of Vancouver. And now I primarily focus in the Sea to Sky area, mostly Squamish and Whistler. So, I'm in those areas and been in the business for about 6 years. And looking forward to talking to you guys today.
Carleigh, I didn't realize you were actually at one point with Oakland Realty. Was that when you were an agent in Vancouver?
Yes, Arlene. She's the reason that I had any success in this business. She's so wonderful.
Tell us how you actually thought about the process of getting into real estate and what you did before.
Yeah, so I was actually in finance before. I was in the investment world and loved it, but I was on a plane pretty much every 2 weeks, if that 10 days. I was super young. I was 24, 23, and I had been in the business 5 years already. It, hands down taught me everything I know about business to date. And I look back on it, and it's single-handedly the biggest, learning that I ever had in business was from that time in my life. But it just got to the point where I just felt like I was not living my own life. I was going on a plane or a train. I was in Europe, and while it all sounds glamorous, you kind of get to a point where I, stopped in my own tracks and said, like, is this the future that I want for myself? And you can't go to friends' weddings and you can't go to birthday parties, and it kind of changed my trajectory of where I wanted to go in my life. So I kind of had a moment where I was like, I always had this interest in real estate. My family's always, renovated, built, sold, and it's always just fascinated me. So I actually quit my job in December and gave myself till March to get a real estate license. And I've never looked back. It's been the best thing that I could have done. But it's kind of my world. But it really translated really simply because, basically before I was selling investments for an intangible product, and now I actually, have a tangible asset to sell. So it's a very similar business in that regard, and I was able to kind of move those skills over when I made the transition.
You're now a top producing agent at Angle & Volker's Whistler. What was it like transitioning out of the Vancouver real estate market into a new market entirely, Whistler Squamish?
It was tough. It's not easy to start over again. That's how it kind of felt. But at the same time, I was so grateful for Oakland and the connections I had with other agents. It goes to prove that, if you do good work with agents and have good relationships with agents, it really does make a difference to your business. And I think, I didn't realize that when I was working in Vancouver, although I did create some really good connections. Those connections came through for me. They sent their clients up to me at Whistler, and that's really how I got my start. So, it all came down to, I have to shout out to Oakland because, all those agents are really what gave me my start in Whistler. Once they knew I moved there, it was, they started referring business, and it was just a really natural progression. But I will say too, honestly, working in my past job, I worked with a lot of really awesome people that also, Vancouver, the clientele in Vancouver, a lot of them do own second homes in Whistler. And a lot of the clientele just in that time frame that I had moved to the Sea to Sky, a lot of people had started thinking about living in Squamish, and I kind of was there at the right time as well. So I will, give a little bit of the success that I've had to luck as well and timing.
So do you actually live in Squamish right now, or in Whistler?
I live in Whistler. Yeah.
I
Fun.
have a question about those markets too. So demographically, what's it like in terms of breakdown between Whistler and Squamish? Because you're right, and you mentioned that a lot of Vancouverites potentially have vacation properties up there. So if you were looking at Whistler versus Squamish, what percentage would you say is mostly investors or vacationers in Whistler compared to Squamish, or is it kind of an even mix?
Ooh, it's a very different clientele. Um, I would say they both have lots of investors, but majority of my clients that are buying in Squamish are moving to Squamish. And there was an affordability aspect to it that maybe isn't there right now, but people were moving out of a townhome in Squamish or in North Van, and were able to get into a house in Squamish. So people were weighing the commute, and then obviously with COVID lockdowns and everything, more people working from home, Squamish's lifestyle is so appealing to so many. You got the ocean and at your fingertips, but you also got the mountains. And I think that just appealed to a lot of people, especially through the pandemic. And yeah, so I'd say majority of my clients in Squamish are people living there. I have had the odd pre-sale investor that's come in there, and I have had a few clients that have bought for rental because there is a really big rental need there as well. So if you are looking to invest, Squamish is a wonderful place. Like there's lineups out the door for rentals there because lots of young people are trying to move there. Um, Whistler's entirely different. Our zoning there, it's the Airbnb game in Whistler. We have the phase one zoning, which allows Airbnb, and it's harder and harder to find that. It's actually in the title of our zoning, so you're not going to lose that ability. And the rental rates are so high because we get 3 million plus visitors a year to Whistler, and it's not a very big town. So owning one of those phase one properties, I'm getting a lot of people that's what they're purchasing, and the the Airbnb kind of offsets their costs, and then they use it when they want to use it. But when they're not using it, they can Airbnb it and make some money and cover their expenses. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for an investor up there. But I do get the odd person moving up there full time, and again, the pandemic did definitely pull lots of people up that way as well.
You have a wonderful following on your Instagram and on your social media platforms. What are your top two strategies in like building that audience first and foremost? And then have you found success in converting those followers into actual deals?
Yeah, so I mean, it hasn't been easy. I did work with a company called Roots and Ardor, Hannah and Sam. They're awesome. They definitely helped me kind of. I'm a pretty big introvert, to be honest. Like, I'm not your person that's at every event and, you know, talking about real estate necessarily. So I had to kind of build my brand and who I was in a different way. And so I definitely used social media 6 years ago to emphasize what my values were and what I wanted to bring to the real estate market. Um, and they really helped me do that. But, I owe it to them for helping me build that following. But a lot of it's just engagement and it takes time. Um, but, I know that a big part of my following came because I think the real estate board or somebody used my Instagram as an example in one of their courses, um, of things you could do, and I just kept getting followers.
It's free advertisement. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, as flattering as it was, I was just getting like inundated with, agents and stuff, then reaching out about like, oh, I love your Instagram and this and that. So I will say that did help the following as well.
Actually, has that converted? Has that actually converted into more referrals for you for those agents who don't work in Whistler?
Yeah, I would say I probably get 10 deals a year through Instagram.
It's pretty
Oh,
good.
wow,
Um,
awesome.
yeah, like it's, either it be an agent or, I actually just listed and purchased a home for a wonderful woman who lives in Seattle, and we would have never met otherwise. And she basically started following me because we had similar interests in a design shop. And she kept seeing the aesthetic of, my personal home and stuff. And she was like, I'm going to enjoy working with you. So yeah, she's from Seattle, and it was, one of those situations. We just literally met over Instagram. She came to Whistler one day, we had coffee, and, I ended up listing her house and purchasing a house for her. So it does happen. And,
It sounds like you have some really great. Yeah, there's a delay, but
okay.
no worries. Sounds like you've kind of covered really all aspects. You have the financial background, so you're really comfortable maybe talking about numbers and about a safety net, about building a wealth of portfolio. Then you have a family background in your roots of renovations, and you're talking about interior design in a lot of your posts, and organically, and you've been able to build this subscriber list and following. So I feel like, I would say there's a great balance between a lot of just your experience and exposure through all of this, which is wonderful to have.
So when you're working on your personal real estate sales, are you working as team lead, or who's a part of your team? Is it just you doing everything, or do you have an assistant or agent that helps you?
it's just me.
It's a lot of
I would
work.
not recommend that, especially after last year. Doing 60 plus deals on your own, it's a ton. Um, and there was moments last year where I was like, I desperately need an assistant. But what I started doing is just like, there is very capable other agents in my office, and when I needed help, I just reached out, and I just accepted the fact that it's okay to give part of a deal away because you need the assistant just to make sure your clients are happy. Would I do it that way again? Probably not. It's just, I wasn't prepared for the pace of the market and how quickly my business grew as well. Um, and for the most part, I can handle it. Like, it's, especially working in a town like Whistler, it's a little bit smaller. It's not like I'm sitting in traffic or having to run all work. I can do 3 buyers tours in a day, and I can be, in 5 different houses in a day. And it's, from one end to the town to the other is 15, 20 minutes. So it's not like it's, as taxing. So I have that benefit in Whistler. But just for your sanity level, like I think if you're doing over like 30 deals a year, consider getting even a part-time or just someone to help with your emails and whatnot, because it is a lot to stay on top of. I managed it no problem. And, a part of it is just, when you've built a business that you're so passionate about, it's hard to let go. And, you want every client to have who they've hired and to have that really good experience. But, there was definitely moments, like, I won't, lie. I like to respond to people very quickly. And there was moments where I just couldn't keep up with the pace. But that was also a product of the market we were in the last year.
All good points. Um, you've been in the industry, you said, for 6 years. You've seen quite a lot of success in those 6 years, an amazing amount of growth. So congratulations to you. I'm curious what you're welcome. If you were to say what 3 habits, in your opinion, an agent should have or should exercise to dominate a marketplace, and gain a competitive edge, what 3 habits do you think those would be?
Ooh, good question. Respect people, clients, always take the high road. Things fall apart, you're going to fail. People change their mind. I think that's like the biggest thing is just like respect your agents, respect clients, and just understand that, like, we're putting deals together, and having clients make the biggest decision of their life isn't an easy process. And yeah, we're supposed to be there to listen and to support them through that. So, just always take the high road. Sometimes this business can be frustrating, but that's one habit. It's just like, always respect your people around you, and the business will come to you. um, Another habit, make time for yourself. Like, every morning, do what you need to do to keep yourself sane, especially in a busy market. There is ebbs and flows in this business, and you will get time, but when it's busy, you just got to also like take a step back, because without that clarity, you can get pretty bogged down. So, It's definitely not an easy business. It's not what it appears from the outside necessarily, and you guys will know that. There is definitely harder challenges than most can see, and most than my Instagram says. But you get through those days with each other, and again, that comes back to respecting your colleagues and whatnot, because you do need each other at times. What other habits? I am like extremely diligent about response times. Like, that's one habit that I've always had, to a point that like I'm on my phone all the time, and it drives some of my friends and family insane. But just you got to be available. I don't know if that's really a habit, but it's just like it's definitely the difference. Yeah, it's definitely a difference between an agent that succeeds and one that doesn't. Like, you definitely have to be responsive.
You talked about you being an introvert, and you made it sound like it wasn't a good personality or something that's good to have. Do you find that like it's a myth or it's necessary to be an extrovert in this business?
No, you don't need to be. There's clients that are attracted to all different types of agents. But the stereotypical salesperson is supposed to be this, outgoing at the events, doing everything. But, there's other ways as well. And, I'm definitely not the first person to be at an event to tell everyone I'm a realtor. People have learned that I'm a realtor in other ways. Um, but, I always say just like being humble, and you don't like it. Hard work really at the end of the day is what gets you success, and it doesn't matter if you're an introvert and extrovert, because there's clients that are attracted to all different types of personalities, and they're going to choose who they feel most comfortable with at the end of the day. So if you're out there and you think you aren't the sales type, I was that person. But you also just kind of learn to go with the ropes, and you'll learn that it's not necessary to be an extrovert necessarily in order to be a successful realtor.
Did you, you obviously mentioned that you get 10 or so leads a year based on referrals because you specialize in Whistler. What other lead gen systems do you have as well? Like, how much do you spend any money on advertising online or bus shelters in Whistler? Postcards, flyers? Do you do any door knocking in the area? Yeah, what are your different types that you're currently using? Maybe like even mention what you did at the very beginning of your business, and then now that you're 6 years in, how has that changed?
Yeah. In the beginning, I did it all. Like, I just threw mud at a wall until it stuck, and trust me, it cost me a ton of money. But I just risked it all. I was just like, I'm going for it. I'm going for this business. I got to do it all. And I kind of just like learned from that as to what was working, what wasn't. But what I found is the best solution is like wherever you live, like build that community where you live too. Like, I felt like those were the warmest leads, in my opinion, in terms of like that type of marketing. Like, door knocking in Vancouver, it kind of worked, but Whistler doesn't, because a lot of the homes are not occupied. Um, so it's not something you can really do there. Flyers, I definitely did. I did mail outs. Those definitely work. You get calls. But at the end of the day, the best leads you're going to get is just by building the community that you live around. So, um, you know, I definitely had that success in West Van. When I lived in West Van, a lot of my clients came as a result of where I lived. And then when I moved, it's been the same. It's just about building the community that you live in, and um, you know, you don't need to be pushy or anything. But even if it's just updating everyone with a flyer as to what you have for sale in the neighborhood, or people just, and then it's a talking point the next time you see them. So um, they're like, "Oh, I got your flyer, and did that house sell?" And it just you end up talking about it really naturally. So I would say that's kind of been my best result in terms of gaining warm leads. And then online, I do the odd publication here and there if I feel like I align with it. But for the most part, um, you know, I do stuff, like podcasts and whatnot, like that kind of stuff helps. But I think at the end of the day, it's just building those warm connections, and it's being face to face with people. It's the best way to build trust and for them to learn who you are as well.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've built up quite the community up in Whistler and Squamish. What percentage of your business would you say are past clients and or referrals?
I will say, well, you know what? I started probably with like 10, like when I moved to Whistler, I probably had like 10 really good clients in the first year. Um, and because those 10 clients came from Vancouver, they all had, great experiences. My referrals came from clients referring me to their friends and their family. And it's funny how things work. Like one friend gets placed in Whistler and then the next one wants one as well. And it's just kind of snowballed from there. And I will say that's like really how my business has grown, is just like providing a good experience and then having them rave about it to their friends and family. And then it snowballs and it's the ripple effect. So, you just got to treat people, again, it comes back to respect and treating people right. Like, even sometimes the deals didn't work out for clients. Um, you take that high road and, you still respect them for it. Like you don't get angry that it didn't work out. And they actually end up bringing you business in the end, even if they didn't buy or, like it just, if you respect people and, you know, be honest with them and always take the high road and do the right thing, like you're going to have business come your way. It's a natural result. And you won't need to spend the money on marketing and, you know, doing all the extras.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saying respect, integrity, and just great communication with clients. Right, coming from a good place would be necessary components of maintaining loyalty.
Yes, correct. You've worded it much better than I did.
No, you said it. I just wanted to reiterate it for the audience because these are important when building a successful real estate business, but not just about the sales, right? Something that is special and enjoyable for everybody involved.
And success doesn't come overnight. Like you have to have patience in this business. And I think that is honestly one thing I haven't, you know, talked on, but it's like the patience is a huge aspect of this. You can give up really easily, but if you have patience, you will make it in this business.
You are, yeah, talking about patience. The last couple years have been a crazy market. And this year, we've seen a lot of buyers on the fence, watching the inflation rate go up. And so now the government is really pushing interest rates a lot higher to mitigate the inflation rate even going further up. How is the Whistler market reacting to this real estate? I don't even want to say volatility, just different. It's different over the last couple of years.
Yeah, we've definitely felt it the way, other cities have. It'll affect everybody in a variety of different ways. So we're definitely feeling it. Business is definitely slower. But I actually think it was a little bit necessary just for it was unattainable. You couldn't keep going the way it was. So something had to change. And it's definitely slower. But again, like, good agents, and there's certain clients that use this time as opportunity. And those clients, in my opinion, are, they're the risk takers, but they're also the ones that win and get great houses. And there's, an array. It's an amazing time to shop for buyers right now because, although interest rates and stuff are up, they're really not crazy high in the grand scheme of things. But prices have also come down. So, everything's relative. We can listen to the media and, take our opinions from there. But the ones that are really digging into what works for them and how their investments work, if you have a little bit of a longer term outlook, I think that right now is probably one of the best times for buyers to be looking around. There's choice, there's time, you can do the proper due diligence. But again, it comes back to that herd mentality. People love to all jump in when it's crazy.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, but it's also because we all have an encyclopedia in our pocket and we just believe, the media just tells us what to believe, and you either believe it or you don't. But
And even too many opinionated family members.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was going to say, I agree with you, Carleigh. I think that now is a great time for opportunity. So you could, if you buy into what the mass media is saying about housing market, that's always been their favorite thing, right? Oh, it's going to go down. It's going to go down. Well, it has adjusted, in some cases 20% or higher. Will we see more of an adjustment? Possibly. And that means that for people that are wanting to buy, there could be great opportunities. So everything is an opportunity in my book. Depends on how you look at it. I wanted to say that when I was up in Whistler in the summertime, visiting with family, I came by one of your listings on Treetop Lane. And so it was a very nice home. And I'm curious, how did you make that kind of shift from high top producing and more shifting into a luxury market, I would say, because that was definitely a luxury home. I think your list price was right around 13 to 14 million.
yeah, yeah. So again, that came from an agent in the city, um, and it's having that relationship. And Selena Kai, she's a wonderful woman, and we knew each other from the past, and again, it came directly from a referral through that. So um, it happens, but it's also the way you carry yourself and being able to, have that trust and integrity with your clients. Again, like, these clients call and they want to have a conversation with you, and you meet with them. They might not pick you, but I think you just go in as yourself and who you are. And in this instance, this client really respected my confidence in the market. I'm very passionate about where I live and work, and for him, that was, I think, what turned that possible listing into a listing. So, um, yeah, it's not an easy thing to transition into, especially because there's a few agents in Whistler that really dominate the luxury market. But it takes time, and it's just, you never know who you're talking to, and those connections lead to other connections, and that it's just really organic at the end of the day. There was no like magic way to get luxury listings necessarily.
I think you've really, it's been really clear throughout this conversation that a lot of your success, no matter what type of clientele it is based on respect and the relationships that you have with colleagues, people in industry, and those clients. And fun fact, Selena Kai's actually been on our podcast. She's one of my best friends. So I'm glad. She's great.
Super silly question, though. So in Whistler, because it's like such a casual, recreational landscape, are you going into this meeting like with a suit? Like pantsuits?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Or are you going in as yourself, super casual, because it's like that's just an outdoor space and people expect you to be like casual?
I still dress for work like I would in the city. Um, some people, other agents are like, you look like an agent from the city. I'm like, that's not very nice to stereotype me that way. Like, why can't I just wear what I want to wear? Yeah, I still dress for work every day, pretty much. If I'm seeing clients, they will see me out in my sweatpants, but I'm not like that every day. If I don't have meetings, I will dress casual, but for the most part, I do. If I have meetings and I'm meeting with clients, I definitely still show up the way I would expect an agent to show up if I was listing my home. Um, and it's so much of that is, again, is just like your professionalism matters, and that's one step is to have that professionalism. So it just helps build that trust and stuff as well. But it is a casual place, and you can get away with jeans, and it's no problem. Everyone gets business.
Someone who is learning into getting into investments and they want to purchase an Airbnb. As you know, it's selective buildings in Vancouver, or you may not know, selective buildings in Vancouver that allow Airbnb. How, like you said, it's super lucrative up in Whistler. Do most people hire like a super host or a property management company to manage that, or are, because maybe they're living in Vancouver, they're kind of managing it themselves? And how much does that cost? And can you kind of break it down for somebody who maybe wants to get into that market as an investor?
Yeah, so there's definitely management companies that majority of my Vancouver clients will use just because they have busy lives in Vancouver. And, if somebody checks in at 11 at night, they don't want to be dealing with it. But many people do, do it themselves as well. Um, and, there's times where they call on me panicking, and I'll just run over and help with the situation if there is one. Um, but for the most part, people are using management companies, and they range. I would say for to get the proper service you need, you probably pay about 20%, but I'd say you probably get that 20% back with the services they provide, because that's all they do is just look after your property and the properties they have. And that helps you get to superhost level way quicker. It just helps the whole situation. So, and they also have other properties typically on their portfolios. So they, if one unit's not available, they'll move those clients into your unit and such like that. So I would say it's anywhere from 20 to, they do go up to 40% in some cases. But it just depends on the property as well, and what's required of that, agent to, or the property manager to, kind of service the home. Some of the homes are, they're 10,000 square foot, 6,000 square foot homes, and they require a little more attention. So, and they rent to different clientele. So it just depends what kind of service you need from your management company. Um, but it does vary. But yeah, I would say the average is 20 to 25%. And it is beneficial definitely to hire a company, because they also look after the maintenance of your property and whatnot
I think
as
it would
well.
be worth the value if you had the right people there for sure. It has to get cleaned all the time too. Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so no, thank you for sharing that. Investors, pay attention. Get in touch with Carleigh if you're listening to this podcast today. So Carleigh, we know that competition is fierce, and in terms of, other real estate agents who are also a lot of the times our friends, right? But competing for listings, that kind of thing.
And longer in the business too, more than 6 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you set yourself apart from the rest of the competition, and what skill would you say it is that your clients rave about, of yours?
It's a secret.
It's a secret. Okay.
No. At the end of the day, like, what I always, say to clients is, like, every agent is capable of bringing the same thing to the table. We all have access to the same, you know, tools, the same resources, the same marketing platforms. We all are capable of doing what our client wants. Um, and we all have access to all of those things. So you can go in and pitch the video and the photos and who you're using. And, I'm consistent with those items, but those are just, an automatic for me. But for me, it's like, I always say, like, every home has a story, and it's captivating that story to be able to sell it properly. So that's one thing I really focus on. And I really dig in deep with the sellers as to, like, what was the part of this home that you loved the most, and why is it so cherished by you, and why is it valued the way that you feel it is. And those are the questions that I dive deep in. And then at the end of the day, what I always say to clients, which, at the end of the day, it's like, you can hire any realtor in this town, and you're gonna have, excellent, you'll probably have excellent service because there's tons of great agents. But you're also going to have access to everything that I have access to. But at the end of the day, it's who you feel most comfortable with, because it's a super intimate experience. We share a lot of details with each other that are, you know, personal, and you have to trust the agent. And, I have to be able to share and speak openly with them, good feedback, bad feedback. And, there is times where I'm like, this person we're not going to work well together. Like, I've had to walk away from situations, because it has to be a two-way relationship that makes sense, because it is it's an emotional experience. It's an intimate experience. There's, a lot of personal information shared, and there has to be trust at the end of the day. And the minute any of that is lost on either side, it's, you know, it's not going to be a smooth transaction, and a smooth experience for either. And there's just, I want the best for a selling experience or a buying experience. Like, every person deserves to have a good experience. They are purchasing or selling one of their most treasured, biggest assets. And so, yeah, I think my biggest thing that I always say to clients is like, you can interview other people, and, and a lot of times they'll be like, no, we've already decided. But it's just, choose who you feel most comfortable with. Like, if clients are listening to this, or buyers or sellers, like, just choose who you feel most comfortable with at the end of the day, and who you trust. Because, we all are capable. We can all wow you with a, you know, pamphlet of everything we can offer, but all those things can be offered by most agents. So it's just, we have access to everything. Speak up if there's specific things that, you want. Yeah, tell the story of the home if you're selling it. If you're in for a listing presentation, I just always say, like, what is it about this home that makes it so valuable to you? Because if it's valuable to one person, it's probably going to be the selling feature for the next
I
person.
actually
tip.
don't think anybody has said this this answer, which is beautiful,
No, it's
captivating,
great.
a story.
I love it. Rounding out.
Well, how you mentioned that in finance, you couldn't make it to a lot of weddings and you missed best friends'
Oh, yeah.
birthdays, and you're doing more than 60 deals a year on your own with a little bit of help. Are you not finding the same?
I was curious about
as
that
well?
too.
Because what do you enjoy most about this business that that is different?
Yeah, I mean, when I was working in the city, for sure, there was a lot of sacrifices. And I made a huge sacrifice to move my life to Whistler too. Partially that was due to my personal relationship with my man. But I would just say, I do schedule time. Like, real estate is one of those things that is on the evenings and weekends, and it's, when you're with friends. But um, sometimes I have to leave things for an hour and come back. And, most of my friends understand my business now, and they get it. Like, it's, I will leave. If I have a wedding, I have a wedding, and I'm going to the wedding, and I will, call another agent. Or, most people are very understanding. I'm just honest with people. Like, and it's same with agents. Like, if you have a showing that is at a really inopportune time, like, I always talk to the clients and say, like, I have a showing at this time, but I also have this. Can I send someone else? Can I, we work around it. And I think, you do have to, in the beginning, I didn't. I just was like bailing on everything, canceling, would prioritize work 100%. But I've kind of like come into like realizing that most people are a little bit flexible. Um, and that if it's a serious buyer or a serious seller, like, they're totally understanding that life happens, and you have to do things for yourself too in order to keep your sanity. So, yeah, you just kind of figure it out. I have a calendar that's changes 5 times every week. But I just try to, yeah, just figure it out.
No, it's good trying to balance. And Carleigh, we know you're away in Hawaii, so we won't keep you. We're going to do a fun little game with you, if that's okay, just to conclude our episode with you. But before we go into the 5 rapid fire questions, we need to know, because we forgot to ask this at the beginning, what is your spirit animal?
I have no clue. What would I be?
No?
You guys caught me. I might have to come back to you on this one.
It doesn't have to be perfect. No?
You guys caught me.
Okay, we'll come
good,
back.
all
We'll
good.
come back to it. No problem.
Our next question is, who or what is your biggest inspiration?
I will say I work under, she owns our firm, but Maggie Thornhill. She's the one that kind of had my back when I moved up to Whistler. She's pretty much the only agent I knew when I moved there, and I happened to work at her firm. And she's just, she's built her business from the ground up and has been a huge success. And she's a Whistler agent as well. So,
Maggie's also going to be at the Frameworks retreat that we're all going to be at as well, correct? I think I saw her name on there. Awesome.
her team, which is her son and Alicia. They're just like, they're powerhouses. They're awesome.
Next question. What is your favorite book or podcast?
Ooh, what was I actually listened to the, I'm gonna get the name of it 1 second. I think it's called, oh, you got me now. I just was watching it. It's about startups and how all these different people have started up their businesses, and I listen to it all the time now. What is this called though?
It's okay.
I think
You
it's
can let
just,
us know later. We'll
I'll
put
let
it.
you know, but I definitely let people know because it's a good one. But it's all about like different, like very successful entrepreneurs and their stories, because the stories are insane. Like it's really, really inspiring.
Okay.
If you're not selling real estate or in finance, what other career do you see yourself in?
Interior design, hands down.
Yeah, that would be nice. Okay, this is a Whistler question. In your opinion, which do you prefer, Blueberry Hill or ski in, ski out in the village?
To live full time, Blueberry Hill, biased because I just bought my new house near there. Um, but if you're a part timer, then definitely ski in, ski out.
Great answer. Okay.
I don't even know what ski in, ski out means.
Carleigh?
You can ski in or out of your house without having to get in a car. You're basically on the ski hill.
If you're a skier,
But you still have to take off your skis before you.
it doesn't matter. It's like right there.
But what if there's no snow on?
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay,
Convenience.
got it. I guess it's like my paddleboard and being next to
Yeah, on the
water,
ocean.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
got it. You can tell I don't like the winter. Where can our listeners find you, Carleigh?
You can find me, carleighhoffman.com is my website, and I have live chat on there. And then I go by Realtor Carl because my name is spelled a bit funny. So it's Realtor Carl, all one word, on Instagram, and I'm very active on that. You can always call and email me as well, which all that information is on both those platforms.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Carleigh, for coming on our show. I know you took some time to come out of your hotel room to join us on the podcast, so we
Of
appreciate
course, no, it's all good.
disrupting your vacation there.
Well, we have an amazing time away. You deserve it. When are you back? You're welcome.
On Sunday.
Okay, well, you better enjoy this time. You've got a few more days.
I think
Yeah,
we're
and
going
I'll
to
see you at the Frameworks retreat.
October 5th, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
We'll see you October 5th. Can't wait. Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Carleigh.
Carleigh.